Hey, it's Minute Book Reports, and I got a lot of things wrong in my prediction for how this story was going to turn out. I made a preview video where I kind of just guessed and discussed what I thought would happen in this book, and I did not get a lot correct. And there's a whole list of things that I could talk about, but I really want to talk about the ending, and I want to talk about the character of Sam, who is the girl that is on the cover of the book. So I read chapters 9 through 13. Total reading time was 2.5 hours, which brings my total reading time for this book to about 5.5 hours, which is fairly fast considering the last book took me about 6.5 hours or so. So the ending is the thing that totally caught me off guard. It was something that I was sort of getting at as I was reading the book, because you'll notice that the last couple of chapters in this book, and even in the previous book, they're quite long. And I think that's intentional, where the author, a lot of the chapters are shorter in the beginning, and then the last couple of chapters where the meatiest stuff is happening, where a lot of the action, where things are going to be revealed, those chapters are long. And I think the author wants to keep you glued in, keep you reading the book, so that everything can be shared before you put down the book or you just finish reading the book. And that's what happened to me. It got to the point where I was getting, last couple of chapters, I'll read it, it's not a problem. And then I got into it and I was like, oh, these are pretty long. So I just powered through it, got to the end, and it was a really great read. I really enjoyed the surprise, but I can also say that my thoughts leading up to that ending surprise, where if you're not familiar with the story, here's like the spoilers. The children eventually meet up with Miss Wren, who they've been trying to meet up with, so that she can fix Miss Peregrine, who has been stuck in bird mode the whole time, and she's gonna be stuck in bird mode if they don't get her help. And so they finally meet her. Miss Wren is hiding in this office building that's like frozen with ice. And she tries to heal, or Miss Wren tries to heal Miss Peregrine, and just as she's about to transform, it's revealed that it's actually Miss Wren's brother, who is impersonating her the entire time. So he was the imposter, which is why Miss Peregrine acted so unusual the entire story. I originally thought what was going to happen was Miss Wren and her servant, her ward, Althea, I thought that either one or both of them were actually working for the Whites, or the Hologast, or the Corrupted. I thought that they got to the point where, you get that point in the story where the person that was like the one that was being sought after, they find out that they actually double-crossed them, and they were actually working with the bad guys because they were trying to just save themselves. So that's what I thought was going to happen, because it just seemed a little creepy. Miss Wren, something seemed a little bit off. Or Althea, I thought the ice girl, I thought something's kind of off here. I have a feeling something's gonna happen. That didn't happen, of course. I also thought that the story would kind of come to a close. This story was very much a quest setup, where you have a group of kids, they started off in the boats, and basically their mission is to try to find Miss Wren because they need to fix Miss Peregrine, or who they think is Miss Peregrine. So that's the entire story. It's basically these kids just trying to find her. And I thought that at the end, she would be healed, and they would go and try to plan what they're gonna do to try and basically undo everything. The way this book ends, it's very much open-ended. It's very much not a happy ending. In fact, if you were just to go based on this book alone, it seems like the bad guys, the villains, the antagonists are the ones that are winning. They're in total control of what's going on, and as Jacob and Emma are now split up from the rest of the children as they're being taken away by the Whites, it doesn't look very good for them. In fact, I have no idea where the story is going to go, which is a good thing. I think that's a great thing. If I'm interested and excited, but I have no idea where the story is necessarily going to go in terms of the plot, how things are going to get resolved, how is Jacob going to become the person that he's always meant to be. So I got the ending very much wrong. But I think the most important thing in this story was the character of Sam. There are a lot of great characters that we meet. We meet a couple of new peculiars, and they come and join the group. But to me, the introduction of Sam, the girl who became impaled and who is in fact on the cover of the book, I think is very important. And it's unfortunate that she doesn't get to go with the children and continue with their journey. I was hoping that she would get to go with them. I thought that she wouldn't want to stay because I thought her sister was gonna get killed, and then she'd be all sad and want to get revenge and join the kids. Basically, Sam is a peculiar that is indestructible. She has like an incredible healing ability, so that even though she was impaled by a beam through the bomb after the bomb hit the house, and she was like dead, she just had a hole in her body, and she said, "Oh yeah, don't worry, it's gonna regrow back." And it's like, wow, okay, that's kind of cool, you know. And she's functional and everything. She just works. And what an ability to have! What an ability to be able to join a group like Jacob, Emma, and all of those characters, and to use that person to be able to do all these things. But she doesn't want to go, and it's because for the first time, somebody else outside this story views the peculiars, even though she is one. She views that group as not necessarily 100% noble. You know, she kind of calls them out on their selfishness, their sort of focus on only their mission, and they really aren't caring too much about anybody else. And it's sort of this different perspective that we get on these characters, you know. And I know that the children, they want her to come along, and they just say, well, we can't take them. It doesn't really matter because this is all in the past, and all this already happened, so it doesn't really matter. You know, we cannot really get involved, and all the same thing time travelers in other stories probably have to deal with. But for me, it really points out that, you know, after Miss Peregrine or the imposter pops the wheels of the ambulance, because they both want to use the ambulance, and they're kind of fighting like, well, let us use it, and the children are, let us use it because we got to get going. Then the tires popped and no one can use it. And I think at that point Sam just says, yeah, I don't want to be a part of you. I don't want anything to do with you, because what you guys do, it just doesn't seem right. And you guys just seems to be so focused on whatever it is that you're doing, that look at the people that you're becoming. And that was the first time someone called them out on that, which is great. I love that, because they're the heroes of the story from our perspective. But to have a character call them out, who's in the story, call them out on, you know, you may think that what you're doing is great, but you gotta watch out. Look who you're becoming. You know, you guys are changing, and I don't want to become like you. If you say that you started off this quest with all these noble things and it's going to save the world, I don't want to become the people that you're becoming in order to save that world. And it was just an interesting perspective. You know, we don't normally get those types of things because we're collectively a part of Jacob, and we're part of that group, and so what they feel is sort of what we feel. You know, we feel like we're doing the right thing in the story. It's all about us. It's always about us. And even to some extent, the reader, it's all about us and our experience. But then you get this character in the story who says, no, it's not about you guys. There's other people to take into consideration. You know, and there's also this whole discussion about time, right? And that's always going to be a thing that is discussed in time traveling books. And this, to me, is one of the confusing, sort of mysterious things that I haven't yet grasped. There's other stories I've read on this, or other stories and other books that I read that are time travel related, and I understand their ideas of time travel. You know, even the simple young adult children's books who deal with this issue, they do a pretty good job of explaining, here's how time travel works. I haven't quite reached that point yet. And part of that is when the children refer to Sam and everybody in that time as, oh, that just happened in the past, it doesn't matter what we do. Because to me, those children are still part of that time. So Jacob is from the present, okay? And that present is in the 2000s, all right? So he has a cell phone, modern life, right? That is the present. He goes back in time, and these children are stuck in a time loop. So it's been September 3rd, 1940 forever. And now it's still 1940, it's just days or weeks have passed. But for me, those children, that's their timeline. So they think that their timeline is the same as Jacob's. They keep calling it the present. But in fact, to me, because they've never progressed, that's their timeline, just like everybody else. But they act as if they're not a part of that timeline for some reason. And that's one of the things that I'm confused about. I don't understand why they think they're a part of Jacob's timeline, when if they were to go to the present, they would disintegrate. At least that's what we've been told. They would just age rapidly, and that's the end of them. So to me, their present time is 1940. And so all the events that were happening with Sam and the bombing, that's their timeline. Because for a long time for them hit a stopping point and reset and just kept going back and forth, back and forth. So for everyone else, time is linear. We all move forward. But for them, they moved forward, but only for a day, and it stopped. And then they kept moving forward, and it stopped. And they kept moving forward. But their timeline didn't move forward. So they may have aged, I guess, maybe mentally in their mind, they may have aged. But really, if we're talking about relative time, their relative time is still 1940. So they keep referring to their time as if their time is the now, is the present, the same present as Jacob, and that's not true. At least in my opinion, that's not true. So we'll see where this goes. I'm very excited to see how the last book ends. I'm looking forward to a quick read because I've been reading these fairly fast and usually 2 sessions. So I'm excited for the last book. I'm looking forward to seeing how all of this becomes resolved. And I'm assuming they're going to make movies one day, but I'm not waiting for the movies. I'm just going to read the books. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.